Joined now by the co-host of the Bob McCown podcast, the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada. Pleased to welcome from Oliver, British Columbia, John Shannon.
I'm not in Oliver today.
No. Anything but.
You made it sound like I was in Oliver today.
You're going to want to claim Oliver, given the discussion we're about to have about evil Eastern media not giving Canucks stars enough credit, John Shannon. So from Oliver, British Columbia, what do you think? Did these Canucks stars get enough love from the nationwide media?
Well, I'll tell you what, they haven't in the last week or so. I mean, when you look at what Pettersson and particularly Quinn Hughes have done and how dominant, I mean, the game in Tampa for me with Quinn Hughes was something to write home about, to Oliver, by the way. And so I don't think they are getting enough attention. Love's an awful word, but are they getting enough attention? No, they're not. But I would suggest that there's still a lot of doubting Thomases, not necessarily about the two players or any player in Vancouver, but skeptical about the record still. And I mean, this team has to put together more victories than they have so far. They have, this road trip helps a little bit, but they're not going to big cities. They're not getting lots of attention. I would suggest when they come through Toronto and Montreal and get to Boston and New York, then there'll be time for a lot of attention. I marvel at any discussion about hockey players that is just strictly numbers based. And I was thinking about this driving in this morning. The eyeball test is so much more valid. The eyeball test, watching how a player dominates a game. You can look at all the numbers you want. You can actually make a decision with a spreadsheet, but it won't help you if you haven't seen what the guy does with the intangibles and the humanity of the game. There is a place for analytics. There's a place for numbers. But the eyeball test is, to me, the best thing going still. I don't care how many numbers, and I don't care if the NHL's got a new statistical-based website, the NHL Edge. Eyeball tests work for me more so, and Quinn Hughes deserves a lot more attention than he's getting.
I wish he was managing the Blue Jays a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that's right. Yes, he would have taken up else.
We might be going to the World Series, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? The eyeball test, a lot of people might get scared by hearing you say that because the eyeball test probably doesn't serve Quinn Hughes for some people. I was listening to a sports talk show the other day, and the expert on the show said, the expert said, how many defensemen? They were talking about, were they talking about Hughes or something? How many defensemen under 6 feet win the Stanley Cup? And he said, not many. And he was basically casting doubt on small. Like, is there a path to Quinn Hughes winning the Norris as long as, opinions like that still are in the market?
Or being the number one on a cup team?
How many trophies get won by teams in the Pacific time zone?
How many trophies?
Like individually? How many trophies, period? How many trophies, period?
Yeah.
Think about it. And so much of it is based on, 10 o'clock Eastern time starts. But so much is based on, and I don't have to tell you guys, that the world starts at 7 Eastern time, or like tonight it starts at 6 Eastern time. And there are just so many more games to watch in the Eastern time zone all the time. So when you do get to a game in Vancouver, in Seattle, and San Jose, and LA, and Vegas, and Anaheim, you're not getting near the eyeballs, even the people who are involved in the game. And so that's one of the reasons why there isn't as much attention on great players in the Pacific time zone. It's not right. It's not fair. So what has to happen is that the team has to be that much more extraordinary. Or the individual does. And I think we saw that. I mean, guys, you saw Seattle play a lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL took notice of Seattle in March.
Yeah.
They didn't take notice of Seattle in December or November. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to be said about the time zone issue and where and when the teams play. But at the same time, I do think that if Quinn Hughes keeps this up, he will be in a lot of discussions about a trophy by April, particularly if the Canucks continue to play at a pace that has more wins than losses.
Honestly, John, that's a fantastic point. And, I'm going to do a future welcome mat on how many trophies have been won from the Pacific time zone, particularly, of course, the ones that are judged, not the ones like Art Ross where you win it with something objective. And it's another great point.
Andrzej Kopitar is the only guy that comes to mind.
I'm just looking at it now. Robitaille won a Calder. Kopitar won 2 Selkies. Gretzky won a Hart with the Kings. I'm just on LA, but I'll
Doughty won a Norris. Yeah.
Doughty.
Giordano too.
Rob Blake and Doughty won Norris. Giordano is not Pacific time zone, at least not from his Calgary days.
Yeah.
No.
Pacific division, but not time zone.
Right. Time zone, not. But it's a great point, John, that you make about Seattle, because here's the thing. For a U.S. national broadcaster, hockey is still a niche sport. So going to the West Coast is even more punishing start time than it would be in another sport. Like the NBA starts tonight and they got Pacific games on. And, of course, because you've had so many great teams and because there's enough basketball viewers far and wide. And that explains things like Philadelphia and Detroit still playing in these outdoor games and special games, even when their teams didn't necessarily merit, because the brand power and the market size of Detroit and Philadelphia works better for American television.
It will be interesting to watch the Winter Classic this year in Seattle between the Golden Knights and the Kraken, whether that has any traction. And I don't wish ill on anybody, because I think that New Year's Day is a great day for a hockey game to be seen. But something tells me it will probably be one of the lowest rated outdoor games.
It's a good call.
Yeah. I mean, here we are. It's the 24th of October, and let's see if I'm right on the 2nd of January.
The roots for those teams are just not deep enough, and that's not a criticism. They're just not old enough yet to have deep enough roots. You're not going to find a single Knights or Kraken fan roaming the streets of Philadelphia or Chicago. Like they're just not there.
Well, the Vegas fans aren't going to come on up to Seattle for the game. No, that's a great point. Since we're on this television bent, Frozen Frenzy tonight, all 32 playing 16 games and staggered start times. What do you think of the concept? What do you think of the logistics as you see it right now? And how do you think it's going to work as a TV producer?
I think it'll work fine. I mean, the people that are doing it, ESPN, understand how to juggle. I mean, this might be right in their wheelhouse when it comes to how to manage multiple games. Probably closer to a Saturday afternoon in college football for them than a regular situation. The fascination for me was when I was running Hockey Night, we always wondered what would happen if we lost Don Cherry. What would we do? How would we change our intermissions? And one of the concepts we talked about, and this is way back, this is in the late 90s, was a staggered start time. So that you had the Toronto game, for instance, starting at 7, the Montreal game at 7:15, the Ottawa game at 7:30. So then you didn't have to program the intermissions.
Right.
And so what you did is you jumped from game to game to game to game and went back to the original game for the start of the period. Now we were in a world of not having multiple channels like exist now. But it's something I think that has been long overdue as necessarily an experiment. And here's the other thing, guys. 16 games, 16 different times is fine. Great idea. Good thing to try. You don't need all 16 games to do this staggered start time thing. You could do it on a 7-game night and have a really good time with it and actually be able to spend more time in dealing with scenarios with 7 games. So I hope that between all the networks in both countries and the National Hockey League, they take a look at this and say, is this the way we manage Tuesdays, for instance, as years come up? Is there a place for it? Don't have to force 16 games, but you could probably do it with 6 or 8.
But why wouldn't you do it every Saturday, John? Like you're trying to make Saturday your own. You're trying to create tradition.
Not in the United States.
I know. Well, I know, but try it. Like try to create it.
Well, here's the curveball to all this, Blake. you have a contract. You have 2 contracts in Canada, one in English, one in French, and they have national nights on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and now Mondays. National nights. That means the regionals can't play those nights if you have a single game. So they have to go on another night. Then you have TNT you have to service in the United States for Wednesdays. And then I'm not being cheeky here, but ESPN has certain nights that they have national nights. I'm just not certain what those nights are. So all of a sudden what you end up with a boatload of games on a regional night. And a boatload of games on a Thursday night because the national windows are Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, for the sake of argument. So it really creates a huge dilemma for the schedule maker, and it creates a huge dilemma for the teams as well, because they still need to service their regional rights holders. So it's not that simple to say let's do 16. Because you need to make sure that if you want to do it for Canada, you need to make sure that, okay, do we have an ESPN game on Sunday or an ESPN game on Friday? And then you're not going to force anybody to play 3 games in 3 days anymore. That's just that doesn't happen. So and then we know that Monday's a national night too. So
don't need 16 on one.
It's like Jenga, you know. I mean, it becomes a real issue. But every once in a while, once a month, I think you could probably do it. And here's the other thing. I wouldn't do it on Saturday because Saturday's got a guaranteed number of viewers anyway. I would do it on another night to try to bring the viewership up on that night. The Canucks don't do a giveaway on Maple Leaf nights.
No.
Because they're going to show up. They do a giveaway on Arizona Coyote nights if the Canucks do giveaways.
I just mean to build it out, and you don't need to do
juice a Tuesday.
You don't need to do 16 games though. I just mean do as you said, 7 to 10 works as well. That's more than enough to go back to back to back. But I think a lot of people, even in Canada, sit down and watch their team on a Saturday night. But do they actually do the NFL thing of I'm going to surround myself with a poop ton of food and just not leave the couch for 6 hours? Make that happen.
I don't know what happened at your place on Sunday, but Sunday was an absolutely fantastic day in my house for the National Football League because I watched cardiac closes in 4 consecutive games, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Between it was the 1 o'clock game, so it's the 10 o'clock games that did it, and here we are at between 4 and 4:45. I saw 4 great finishes before I went to the Kansas City game.
Yeah.
And that's the magic that they have to try to create. The NFL and their networks have worked so well together with staggered starts and with, particularly the second game of the doubleheader being moved to 4:30, 4:40 now. It's well worth considering. But I will tell you right now, and I have witnesses to this. We discussed staggered starts 25 years ago. Particularly, and at one point, how many Canadian teams did we have? Because we had Quebec and Winnipeg in at the same time, and Ottawa there. We had 8. We could have done staggered starts for our own games on Saturday nights every week.
Yeah.
The NFL also advertises each other's networks, which is also interesting to me. Gosh, they have no problem telling, that game's on Fox.
No, but that's part of what the NFL demands.
Yeah.
And in fact, you've seen it with the baseball playoffs. You see it in the NBA playoffs as well. And I think I just put myself on errors and omissions. Did we have 8 Canadian teams at one time? Was Ottawa in with Winnipeg still in Winnipeg and Quebec still in Quebec?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. 1992, 93,
93.
94.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me throw this at you, TV guy, because Leafs and Capitals a 6 o'clock puck drop.
Yep.
Anaheim Columbus is 6:30. Buffalo Senators is 6:45. I think a couple of years ago, started seeing standard 6 p.m. first pitches from Florida, the Rays and the Marlins.
Like in the regular season.
In the regular season. Because as we know, the fan bases in those constituencies are a little bit older than your average bear, right? Retirees, snowbirds.
Fast asleep at 10.
No. But we no longer have people working downtown or near the arena in the numbers that we still did, John. For young families, 6 o'clock compared to 7 o'clock is a world of difference. I mean, we were sitting in here yesterday talking about the Whitecaps. They got a 6 p.m. start for the first time all season, John. They did 25,000, their season high crowd on Saturday. Now, granted, it was the last regular season game. There were bigger stakes, but they had 7:30 all year, and I'll say it because he can't, thanks to the MLS Apple people, and it killed them attendance-wise, particularly on those midweek games.
Ask me how the Lions did with their 4 o'clock starts.
Yeah. Well, could you envision a world where 6 p.m. Eastern is the standard puck drop, first pitch, kickoff, what have you?
Not until the advertising agencies decide that that's when prime time starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. We all talk about analytics and reading spreadsheets, and we're mad that some of us are mad that these spreadsheets are coming to sports. Well, these spreadsheets have determined television start times for years, because there's somebody in an ad agency and there's somebody in a network that doesn't watch sports at all, reads the spreadsheets, interprets the numbers, and says, okay, we need games to start at 7:10 and be over by 9:30. and so that's on a piece of paper. That's not the eyeball test. So until ad agencies or until a major sponsor is able to partner with a league and a network to say, we're going to pay for 6 o'clock rather than 7 o'clock and call it prime time, then that's not going to change. It really isn't. By the way, guys, Hockey Night in Canada used to start at 8 o'clock.
I remember.
Eastern time, 5 o'clock in Vancouver.
John, do you remember when Monday Night Football started at 9 p.m. Eastern? Like, I couldn't even, like, as a Pacific time zone guy now, I couldn't even conceive of a 9 o'clock kickoff. And you're asking me to stay up till 12:30 or 1 o'clock, perhaps?
And you know what? And in its heyday, we did. In a heyday, we did big time.
The other thing that's happened here, guys, is
of course, you had the Hinterland Who's Who lead in, John, which is absolutely gold.
It's gangbusters.
The snowy owl.
But the way homes are designed now, and this is in the last 20 years, of course, your living room is attached to your kitchen in any modern house. Before, they used to be separate rooms.
Correct.
I love making dinner with the game on. I want to have dinner on. I want to have the game on while I'm making dinner. I don't want to have dinner and then sit down for the game. I like especially on the weekend, not so much on a Tuesday per se, but on a Saturday, a 6 o'clock start or even a 5 o'clock start in the case of a Sunday night football. I want it on while I'm making dinner. And that was never available to us in the way houses were made in the 80s.
I just had a vision of my childhood. We were only allowed to watch television one night a week and have dinner. One night a week. And it was great for the TV table business.
Right, the TV table.
Everybody had a set of TV tables.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Younger viewers and listeners, look it up. TV table.
TV tables.
They were the cat's meow. I love the TV table. Oh my God.
Oh, that is so funny. As soon as you said that, I said, well, yeah, when you think about it, we weren't even allowed to watch television during dinner. But on Saturday nights, when dinner was served, it was served in front of the old 24-inch Spartan TV.
Yeah. Wood encased.
Yeah. My mother had 2 rules at the dinner table: no TV, no baseball caps. We wore her down on both. John, marvelous discussion today. Thank you for this. We'll catch up next Tuesday.
I'm on the Quinn Hughes bandwagon. We got to get up some more attention.
From Oliver to Mississauga, Quinn Hughes. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Happy hour on Sekeres and Price. Today's beer of the day, Yellow Dog Squirrel Chaser Hazy Pale Ale.